guys, welcome back to my channel. So I've had time to think about what I wanted to record next, and I think I'm gonna start talking about the time right before I went to treatment. And you know, there'll probably be quite a few stories that I can talk about, but the one I want to talk about today is the actual days before I went to treatment. Really specifically, I want to talk about the day before treatment, although it's sort of hard for me to it's sort of hard for me to not get those last days mashed together. But I can tell you though, I definitely can tell you right the day I went to treatment. But anyways, I'm gonna try my best to before I post this, at least to figure out how to insert pictures, because I just looked at my phone and I have pictures from right before treatment, like the weeks before, and I think it'd be pretty telling to see the difference from using to recovery, because there's a huge, not only just physical, it's not just like a physical difference. Like I have sorry, I just got a message and I don't want it to stop recording. I watched a video from 2 weeks before I went to treatment, and I have a video from 2 weeks before I went to treatment, and it's if I can insert it, I'll insert it now, because actually I'll insert it after. If I can insert this, I need 1,000 thumbs up on this video. No, just playing. But no, if I can insert this, then that will be cool. But I hear a kid coming. Hold on. Living in hotel rooms that you would want to have your own space, right? And that's really the reason you get hotel rooms, is because you want your own space. You want something that you can make feel like home. But the reality, at least the reality of my addiction, was that especially when Eric was gone, I had to make things work. And if this person had a resource for something that I needed, they could stay with me. And if this person had clothes, then they could stay with me. And if this person had a good hookup, then they could stay with me. Or at any given time, people could always come over if they had drugs to share. And it's it didn't matter if you liked the person or not. It's and that's the sad reality of addiction. But anyways, the video is a video of what I thought was funny at the time. Was a friend who I actually probably would consider a friend at that time. He's obviously not in my life anymore, but he was a person I had known for a long time, and he was always nice to me. And anyways, he had came over because he needed somewhere to sleep, so he was sleeping on my couch. But we thought it would be funny to mess with him while he was sleeping, and we weren't doing anything really serious. I don't know why I thought this was entertainment. I took a flashlight and was in his, I don't know. It's just clearly I was not sober. Clearly not sober. And, I think the biggest thing when I see pictures or videos of me before I got clean is the noticeable difference in my face and my body, and just not looking healthy. But anyways, yeah, the point of this video though, so if I can get that video in here, I'll get it in here. If not, I'm sorry, and I'm figuring this editing thing out. It's gotta be, I've gotta be able to figure it out. Everybody on YouTube, it seems can figure it out, but me. So anyways, so at the time before I went to treatment, I went to treatment at the end of November 2017, and so before I went to treatment, I had, Eric was in jail. He was going back to prison. We thought he was going to prison for a lot longer at that time, but we knew he was going to prison. And he wasn't talking to me at all, because my intention was when we both went to jail together, and my intention was I knew I was only going to do like 30 days, and I was going to get out and get clean and get our kids back, but I didn't. I'll save that story for another story time of what happened right when I got out of jail, but spoiler alert, I didn't stay clean. I got out and I got high. Within an hour, I was high. So, at this point, I had found my way in the streets again, and I had, actually at this time, I was proud of myself, but I was doing pretty well in the streets. Like, I had 2 different hotel rooms that I was staying in that were mine and in my name, and I paid for. And of course I had people in and out, but I had one hotel room that was very I tried to keep it just to myself, and then I had another hotel room that was in a really drug infested hotel. And so I had 2 hotel rooms, and then I also had a 3rd hotel room that I kept getting because it was in the casino. And so I would meet people in the casino, and they would I would ask them to buy me a hotel, and it would be at that room. So I basically had 2 to 3 hotel rooms at the time, which is doing pretty well. But in reality, if I have the means to be paying for 2 or 3 hotel rooms, that means I'm doing a lot of drugs. That's what that means. If I'm actually able to pay for all of that stuff, that means I'm doing a lot of drugs. So I had got to a point in my addiction where I felt like I had the feeling that life was going to end like this, that I saw no end in sight. There was just no end in sight. It was no matter what my intentions were, no matter what I wanted to do, the drugs were always the most powerful. It didn't matter that time I was in jail, and the most recent time I was in jail, and I thought I was going to get out and get clean and get my kids back. It didn't matter. It was every time I had the ability to get high, I got high, and it ruled my life. It was a constant day in, day out struggle, and it wasn't there had been times in my addiction where I was sleeping in tents and, didn't have anywhere to go and sick all the time. This wasn't one of those times, but what I saw, and this is what scared me, is that for so long I had Eric in my life, who was a source of protection, who was somebody who would keep me safe. And when he was going back to prison, we really thought he was going to get 7 years or more, a lot of time is what we thought. And also, he wasn't talking to me. I had put money on his books. I had tried to get him my phone number, and he just wouldn't call. And so what I found myself in was this slippery slope of just the streets. It was all of a sudden, what used to be it just seemed to me without saying a bunch, if you know, but what it seemed was eventually I'm gonna end up all these other girls out here, and and there would be no way out. And also, take into account, in the beginning, before I was able to get those 2 rooms of my own, I was in this living situation with these people who I knew, but I was living with a pimp. I wasn't, in no way, shape, or form was I involved with him. What their living, or the living arrangement was that him and Eric had known each other, and I knew his main girl. And so when I was, when Eric was in jail and I had nowhere to go, I was welcome over there. But I was witnessing a lot of things that were hard to witness. Like, you know, I was watching somebody who I cared about get beat up every single day, numerous times a day, and it was like almost like it scared me to think this could be me one day. Like, here comes my daughter. Hold on. I'll change it, baby. Hold on. What's this? Child emergency going on. Hold on. Okay, sorry. So, anyways, where I was at is, so I was witnessing things, you know, and this could be a story time too, because I feel like this had a lot to do with why it became like urgent. And I always, I guess I'm not like realizing this till now, which is like a really good part about doing videos like this, is being able to reflect on these moments, because the things I was seeing were scary. Like, you know, Eric and I have had our history of like craziness, but like this was domestic violence on a different level. And what I learned while being there was that this was a normal thing, and it scared me. You know, I never, it was just, and it was hard for me to witness. So I cannot imagine being in her shoes. So, you know, that was the reason that I moved, that I got my own hotel room. You know, I was trying to just live there because, you know, I was saving money. I didn't have to pay my own hotel room, and, you know, there was a constant source of drugs there. I didn't have to worry about that, but I could not sit there and watch. It was a different level, and it's not really my story to tell. I hope and pray that she can get out of it, but, you know, anyways, so that for me was like a huge, you know, that was one of the first times on the street where I started to see myself in somebody else. Like, I felt like, okay, this, because there was plenty, it wasn't just me that was living there. There was so many people coming in and out of that hotel room who were seeing what was going on, and it was just normal to everybody, that it made me realize, like, this is a normal, like, this isn't the first time I had seen this. Like, obviously, like I just said it before, I had known them for years, but living with them, I realized, like, he does not let up. Like, this is a everyday thing, right? And, I mean, like, black eyes, broken bones, broken jaw, collapsed eye sockets, all kinds of stuff. She'd have, like, plastic surgery in her face, all kinds of stuff. Bricks, I mean, a lot. So that was going on, and I was like, and I was just, not that I was just grateful, but I was grateful that, I think I don't think it was me, because I think obviously he didn't really respect women. I think because him and Eric were friends. I mean, they weren't friends, like, they just knew each other, and we all knew each other in the streets. And I think because he respected him, he never even thought to put his hands on me, you know, it was just hard to witness, and it made me think, like, okay, if number one, if Eric's not talking to me anymore, and if I gotta navigate this scary world by myself, and this is one of the dangers, you know, it was just so much more in my face for me to see, like, Kayla, this is where your life is headed. And You know, it's like sometimes that's why, like, doing these videos or like telling my story, like sometimes I'll have funny stories to talk about, like even the story I posted, I think last time, one of my last stories about the guy in the damn casino. Like, the point of that story, I should have explained myself better, because I was telling it from a, like, okay, this is kind of funny, but it's not funny. What the point of that story is like, these are the crazy things that happen in addiction that become normal. And like, this is the life. This is like everyday life. And although it might sound crazy, it's like, this is the power of these drugs. And my addiction, at least, is so powerful. So it's smart, and it is important for me to remember. It's easy to forget about the bad times and just remember things that might be funny or good times in the streets. But like, sitting down talking about this, I didn't know what I was going to talk about today, or where, you know, my memories of right before treatment. But, you know, this is I thought I was going to get to, the day before treatment, but obviously I'm, you know, but I think this is the powerful, place that I was at, because it was right in, you know, I went to treatment the end of November, and this time that I'm talking to you about is like the end of September. So I was right there. I was on the verge of making a decision to go to treatment. So anyway, so I'm living with these people, and witnessing just some of the worst stuff I've seen in the streets. I've always seen domestic violence. I've always seen people, you know, there's all kinds of stuff that happens in the streets, but these are like isolated events. But when I was living with this couple, but they call each other a couple, but in my opinion, he's her pimp, you know. And when I was living with them, it was heartbreaking to see, because the girl felt like she owed it all to him, and that this was what she deserved, and if she would have just done this right, he wouldn't be doing this. But the reality is, it doesn't matter what she would have done, he still would have done that. And it was just, it took a lot out, you know. It's hard to like juggle emotions and empathy in the streets, because, you know, in reality, the number one thing in my life at that time was drugs. And so, you know, I'm not grateful that that girl has gone through so much in her life. I wouldn't want anybody to ever have to go through that, but I'm grateful that in that time I was able to see such a you know, a raw image of what my life probably would have looked like, you know, because that was part of the first indications of me being like, man, I need to stop doing this, man, I need to, because there was no other option at that point. I was, you know, for so long I was trying to find other avenues of getting money and not degrading myself. But at that point it was like, man, you know, I need to survive. And anyways, so I watched all of that, and then eventually one day I was like, I need to get out of this, or else I'm either going to be the next one he assaults, and who knows if that's a, you know, that's a whole nother cycle or addiction of codependency. And so I, you know, broke away. And I mean, I didn't break away, I still was coming by all the time, but I needed my own space because it was just too scary. There was no sense of security in living in that kind of environment. So I got my own place, but getting my own room comes with a whole nother problem, because, you know, you become vulnerable. You are I'm a woman who has an addiction, who's in the streets, and I have no, like, protection around me. And a lot of time men in the streets see people like me and see, like, okay, well, you know, what can I take from her? What can I get from her? And so then I had to deal with that of trying to still keep people around so that I could, frankly, supply my habit, you know, like let people in who were selling drugs, or let people in who knew where to get drugs or could do this or this or this for me, but then not getting taken advantage of because I just witnessed what this last guy was doing to that girl. And it also made me, you know, Eric had warned me so many times of things to look out for and what to do and what not to do, but at that time I tried to take things I had learned from him and also things I needed in that moment and balance the two. And it was just a scary, scary world, you know. And I know people who have been through what I have been through can understand what I say when I talk about this stuff, when I say how scary it is to walk around at night and hop in and out of cars and take money from people and try and run. And, you know, there's a lot of just danger out there, but it was really starting to hit me at that point. And those were when the first seeds were really planted of like, all right, Kayla, you really gotta, this has got to end, right? Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop at this point. Well, maybe I'll not. I think I should stop because I think I want to get into next, getting to the point of trying to, you know, what really was my final straw and like, okay, I need to get into treatment. And I will talk about that in my next video, which I think I'm gonna just film now. I think. Okay, see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Oh, and I meant to say this. Thank you guys for 100 subscribers. I was so excited when I saw that I had 100 subscribers. I was like, what? So, anyways, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video. Bye. I'll show you his YouTube channel.
Message.
Where's it?